All right, let's talk about the trombone technique. I call it the trombone technique because when you play a trombone, you're sliding from note to note, right? So we're going to take one string and play a solo with the trombone technique. And once you get more acquainted with the durations between notes, not only with how far you drag your hand and how much higher the note gets the more you pull it away from that original note, you know, the intervals, you'll also get familiar with, hey, instead of having to slide all the way up here, you know, I can also cheat and drop down to the 4 there instead of sliding all the way up here. So you're going to gain knowledge of the strings below as you play and move further away from the original note. Like this 5 sliding up to the 8, you know, and then 5 sliding up to the 10. You're going to realize that, hey, I don't have to slide up to that 10. I can just drop down here below it. That's the 4. And then instead of sliding all the way to the 12, I can just drop down to here. So you're going to come up with a more familiar connection to the intervals and where they fall on the note below instead of having to slide all the way up. Same with behind the note. So if I started on the 12th fret and I slid all the way down to the 5, right? The note here that I'm hitting is an E, right? So if I slid down 5 frets back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's going to be the note right above there. That's the 5th. So sliding 5 notes back is a 5th away. 5 notes up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is a 4th underneath. So if you're sliding this way 5 notes, 5 semitones or 5 half steps, it's going to be a 4th. If you're sliding down this way 5, it's going to be the 5th. See the 5th? Here's the 4th. So remember that. So we're using the trombone technique, and we're sliding 5 notes up to hit the 4, 5 notes back to hit the 5. And then as you're becoming more acquainted with this, you realize that you don't have to slide up to the 5th. You can just, or slide up to the 4th, you can just simply go down there. You don't have to slide down 5 notes to the 5th, you can simply go there. So you're going to get this familiarity with the intervals and where they fall in, you know, from this trombone technique and this one string soloing. You're going to be able to develop your ability to cheat and skip. Instead of sliding into the note, you can just hit the 4 down there. And then take it another level and put a blindfold on and use your ear more. I call this hand-ear coordination. It's something that is part of the Fret Fu Kung Fu for Guitar program. And it builds your intuition. It builds your ability to hear notes before you hit them. We'll get into that later, but right now we're doing the trombone technique. So you hear this? I just came up short of that 5. 5 notes up. Right? That 4th right there. 1st, 3rd, 4th. This is the root, minor 3rd, 4th. Instead of sliding all the way up to that 4th, I can just play the 4 below it, right? And then instead of sliding all the way up, see, I got to use my ear right now. 1, minor 3rd, or 4th, 5th. So instead of sliding all the way up to the 5th, I can just hit it there. Another thing is you can use, you know, multiple fingers on this trombone technique. You don't have to slide all the way up. But that's up to you, however you want to do that. Another element about the trombone technique is the intensity that you put behind the note, the dynamic. Like, how hard are you blowing into that trombone? Is it like a really quiet? Because when you're on stage and you're soloing, that trombonist, right, he's got a minute and he gets to jazz out, right? We're playing in a jazz quartet, whatever. And he gets a moment, like here, the spotlight's on him. Is he going to come out going, no, he's going to be like, so let's think about the dynamics in a note. If you were playing a trombone, not only do you have this slide, but you've also got the dynamics of a note. This can help you in soloing because what you're doing is you're playing an instrument, you know, like if it was a reed instrument, a saxophone, you know, you can think about guitar like that. Like, even though I'm just plucking this one note, if I was a saxophonist and I was playing one note, there's a lot more energy that goes into playing that saxophone than just hitting this note. There's an intensity, there's a blowing of the air, there's a transmission of energy there. So if you think about guitar solos like saxophone or trumpet or trombone, you can start to like use your intention, like how hard are you blowing? In other words, how hard are you hitting the note? And you can use that for your phrasing. And you'll start to see that there's a channel. It's almost like you can act like you're blowing into the note. And the harder you blow, you know, the more intense the note is. And this is just a technique that helps keep me in the moment, and it helps to keep me centered and putting intention behind every note. Because a lot of times we get, you know, to where we're just hitting muscle memory techniques. A lot of times you see that guitar face, it's because they're putting that intensity into that note. They're bending. Right? So hopefully that helps. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think.